Hello guys, how are you?
I'm Hardeep Singh. Welcome back to your own YouTube channel. IELTS updates and recent exams. For more updates related to recent IELTS exam writing test topics, listening, reading, practice test, and speaking, you got guesswork. Please, guys, participate in everyday listening and reading practice test to achieve your desired band score in your actual IELTS exam. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Press the bell icon for the upcoming notifications. Don't forget like, subscribe and share my YouTube channel and my Facebook page, IELTS updates and recent exams.
Part 1. You will hear a woman who is applying for a driving license. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 5.
And what type of vehicle would you like to drive?
Oh, just a normal car.
That's a Class C licence then. Have you ever held a driving licence in another country?
Oh no, I'm too young. Anyway, I think I'd be too scared to drive in another country.
Right. I'll just need to get some personal details from you. Could I have your date of birth, please?
Yes, it's the 17th of March 1994.
And what's your address?
28 River Street.
That's spelt R-I-V-E-R. Is that right?
Yes.
And that's in Bentley, isn't it?
Yes.
OK. And your phone number?
I'll give you my home number. It's 37018699.
Right. And what form of ID do you have with you?
Well, I've got a bank card. Here it is.
Let's see. No, we need something with your photo on it, like a student card.
I've got that with me. Here you are.
Yeah, that's fine. Now, there's an application fee of $55. How would you like to pay? We take credit cards, but not cheques, I'm afraid. And we take cash, of course, if you have enough money with you.
I do, actually. And I try not to use my credit card if I can avoid it. Here you are.
Thank you.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 6 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 6 to 10.
Right. Now, there are a few things I need to tell you about the licence. Before you actually drive a car, you have to pass a test about the road rules.
Oh, that's the test about speed limits and road signs and things like that, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. There are 2 parts to the test, and you're allowed to make a maximum of 2 errors in each section. So that's 4 altogether.
And if I fail the test, can I do it again?
Yes, you can, but you have to wait at least a week.
Right. And when I'm driving, there's got to be someone with me in the car who holds a full licence, doesn't there?
Yes, that could be a family member, a professional driving instructor, or a friend.
What about my older sister?
Sure, as long as she's got the right kind of licence. Now, the learner's licence is valid for 9 months. At the end of that time, you have to do a practical driving test. If you pass that, you're granted a provisional licence. That expires after 18 months. If you don't pass the practical driving test, you're given a learner's licence for another 6 months.
I see. And while I'm still on the learner's licence, how fast can I drive?
Well, it depends on the area you're driving in. In most places in the city, there's a speed limit of 60 kilometres an hour. As you probably know, on highways in the countryside there's often a speed limit of 100 kilometres per hour. But as a learner, you're never allowed to exceed 80, even on a highway.
Right. I think that'd be fast enough for me anyway.
Is there anything else you need to know?
Oh yeah, I heard there are restrictions on using mobile phones while you're driving.
That's right. Until recently, you could only talk on a mobile while you're driving if you used an earphone or hands-free device. But that's been changed.
Oh?
Yeah. Now you can't use mobiles at all while driving.
Not even to send an SMS?
Not even to send an SMS. Anyway, if that's all, I'll give you a copy of the book on the road rules.
Thanks very much.
That is the end of part 1.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 2.
You will hear a training officer giving a talk to new staff who will be working at the information desk at an airport. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 15. Now listen and answer questions 11 to 15.
Now, when you're working at the information desk in the arrivals section of the airport, one of the most common questions people ask is, what's the best way to get to the hotel or to a particular address once they leave the airport? The answer you give them depends on a number of factors, so I'm going to give you a few general tips to help you deal with these issues by taking the case of a typical destination for the average traveller. After a long flight, people are often tired and want to get to their final destination as soon as possible. You'd think that the quickest way would be to take a taxi, but because of traffic congestion, it turns out that it's usually better to take the train. Trains are cheaper than taxis, and taxis get caught in traffic jams, and they can't go through red lights. For some passengers, the most important consideration is to take a means of transport that is going to run according to schedule. Now, you would think that the train would be the best one for this. But as the airport train is operated by a private company, there have been a lot of problems integrating its running times with the publicly owned train network, and this has resulted in a lot of delays. Surveys on travelling to and from the airport have found that minibuses are the most dependable form of transport. There are other considerations too. If a person wants a comfortable ride with plenty of legroom after a long flight in a cramped seat, it'd be best for them to take one of the large air-conditioned buses. It's a new fleet with plenty of space for luggage, and on top of that, they're much cheaper than taxis. Some passengers are far more concerned about security. Of course, we can't guarantee that they won't be robbed or even cheated by a dishonest driver, so I think for them the best thing to do is to get someone who they know and trust to pick them up in their car. Finally, there's also the green traveller, who wants to cause the least possible pollution. Now, obviously, we can't tell them to walk because it's too far, particularly with heavy luggage. You might guess that public transport would be the cleanest way to travel, but it turns out that it's taxis, and that's because of the type of fuel they use. They're also, not surprisingly, the most popular choice of business people.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 16 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 16 to 20.
So far, we've been focusing on the arrivals section of the airport. Now we're going to be looking at the departures section. You've all got a copy of the floor plan of the departures section of the airport. Because of the recent renovations, a lot of people are disoriented when they see it for the first time. So you need to be familiar with the new layout. At the bottom of the floor plan, you can see where the passengers check in. They then go through security control, and in front of them is the information desk, right in the middle of the whole floor plan. Just to the right of the information desk, there's a news agency where you can buy newspapers and magazines. For those who like to do a bit of shopping, to the left of the information desk we have a jewellery store. It's well worth a look at. And a well-stocked electronics goods shop. And between those two there is a pharmacy. There used to be a dress shop in that position. At the top right-hand corner of the diagram we have the waiting lounge and the exit to the planes. In the top left-hand corner are the public toilets. You can use those toilets, or if you like, there are also staff facilities near the bookshop, but you'll need to get the key. Just behind the information desk we have some food outlets, and over to the right, next to the waiting lounge, is a cafe. When the renovations are completed, it will function as an internet cafe. At most airports, you get people congregating on the footpath smoking, which is unpleasant for the non-smokers entering and leaving the building. For that reason, we've set up a dedicated smoking room inside the terminal next to the bookshop. It's well ventilated and looks out onto the tarmac. The original plan was to put a wine bar next to the bookshop, but there were problems with the licensing laws. I'd encourage you to walk around the airport to familiarise yourselves with the layout, so that you can more easily handle passengers' inquiries.
That is the end of part 2.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 3.
You will hear 3 students on a media studies course talking about a film they are planning to make. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 26. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 26.
Hi, Mike.
Hi, Razor. This is Helen.
Hello.
We're really pleased you've agreed to join us on this film project.
Yes, your experience is going to be so useful.
Well, I hope so. It's the technical side I know best. Lighting, sound and stuff.
But you think the script is okay?
Yes, I think it's great. Have you decided where you're going to shoot?
Well, there's the watermill scene at the end, and we've thought about some locations in town we can use. They're behind the shopping mall and on a couple of residential streets, and in an empty shop on campus. It means we don't have to worry about getting permission from a shop owner.
So, do you think we should go to all the locations with you?
It would be a good idea. We need to talk about the levels of background noise, so we know they're all going to be reasonable places to film.
But the sounds of traffic will make it more natural.
I think Razor means things like aeroplanes, trains and so on, that would mean we have to stop filming.
Exactly. And also, I'll make notes for myself about what lighting I'm going to need. I think the university department has a good range of equipment, but I'll need to make a list for each location for my own reference. Anyway, once we've had a look round, you can do the roadworks check.
What do you mean?
You need to find out about building work or road works, because you could start filming one day and come back in the morning to find one of the roads has been dug up. The local council have to be informed about things like that, so you can find out from them.
OK. Then I think we need to work from the script and put together a list of all the scenes and decide which ones we're going to film when. We need to prepare the shooting schedule day by day.
You're right. Then, when you know how long filming is going to last, you can tell everyone when they're needed.
OK, so as soon as we can, we'll audition, and then when we contact people to offer them parts, we can send the exact dates and make really sure they're free. Because often the actors are all enthusiastic, but then when you try to pin them down about whether they're really free at that time, you find they've got exams or something, or they're off to a festival just before, and you have to rush about looking for replacements.
Then we need people who can take over the main parts if one of our stars falls ill or something.
Yes, I agree. So offer the main parts to the people we really want, and then look at other volunteers who were okay.
Yes. We can select the understudies once the main roles have been confirmed. So, once we've got that sorted, and we've held all the rehearsals of the main scenes, we'll be ready to start filming.
Yes, that sounds good. Anything else?
Well, just housekeeping, really. We don't actually need costumes, because actors will wear their own clothes. My family has agreed to lend us some pieces of furniture which we need, so we'll go and fetch those the weekend before we start.
We'll provide food and drink during shooting, so I'm going to borrow some cool boxes.
And I've got a little van. Most of the locations are within walking distance of the halls of residence anyway. The only one further away is the watermill.
Ah, yes. Can you tell me about that?
OK. Hang on a minute. I'll get my notes. There's a plan in them.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 27 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 27 to 30.
Here's the mill. You see, basically you have a vertical water wheel which was used to power the grinding stones.
It sounds really interesting. Will we film inside?
Yes, that's where the final scene between the girl and the man takes place. Our plan is to fix one camera outside by the window next to the door to film through the window, and then have another handheld camera inside the mill. That means we can get two views of the same scene. We were going to do something using a mirror, but we decided that would be too complicated.
Yes, by doing it that way, all we'll need is lights on the inside, next to the wall behind the wheel, which can shine across to the opposite wall.
Will that give enough light?
I think so, because the scene is in the evening. It shouldn't be too bright. The actors will be carrying torches too.
And we'll have an old screen made of wood just inside the door, because it's a new door and it'll look wrong. The lights won't shine directly on it, so it'll be fine.
So you won't actually show the door open?
No. There's a huge box on the floor against the wall farthest from the wheel. We'll see the girl approaching the mill on her bike. Then we see through the window and the man is inside looking at it. Then the next shot is the girl in the room with him opening the box.
So it'll be a mysterious ending.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's going to be a great project.
Good.
Thanks.
That is the end of part 3.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 4.
You will hear a lecture on volcanic activity and its effect on the atmosphere. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40. Good morning, everyone. In these environmental science lectures, I guess you're all used to hearing about global warming. Well, I'm here today to talk to you about one particular volcano and its effect of global cooling. I'll begin by going back a little bit in time. Towards the middle of 1991, the second largest volcanic eruption of the last century occurred in the Philippines, not far from the capital city, Manila, on the island of Luzon. Mount Pinatubo belongs to a chain of volcanoes in the area, and this was by no means its first eruption. There is evidence of eruptions from approximately 500, 3,000 and 5,500 years ago. The events of the 1991 Mount Pinatubo eruption began in July 1990, when a magnitude 7.8 earthquake occurred 100 kilometers northeast of the Pinatubo region. The sleeping giant was reawakened, but few people had any idea of what was in store for them. In mid-March 1991, many earthquakes were experienced around Mount Pinatubo, and this is when volcano scientists, or volcanologists as they are called, started their investigation of the mountain. Before the disaster, thousands of people lived in very close proximity to the mountain, and on April 2nd, small explosions from vents near the crater dusted their villages with ash. This resulted in the order for evacuations of 5,000 people later that month. Earthquakes and explosions continued to harass the residents, and on June 5th, a Level 3 alert was issued for 2 weeks because of the possibility of a major eruption. However, the appearance of a large amount of lava protruding from the mountain on July 7th led to the announcement of a Level 5 alert on June 9th, indicating an eruption in progress. An evacuation area within 20 kilometers of the volcano was established, and this time 25,000 people were evacuated. On the following day, Clark Air Base was evacuated, and the danger radius was extended to 30 kilometers from the volcano, resulting in the total evacuation of 58,000 people. On June 15th, just after midday, the eruption of Mount Pinatubo commenced and lasted 9 hours, causing numerous major earthquakes due to the collapse of the land at the top of the mountain and the creation of a huge caldera. What's a caldera, I hear you say? Well, it's obvious really. With a huge eruption such as this, where enormous amounts of material have exploded into the air, the summit falls into what is now an empty chamber, and thus forms a large crater. As luck would have it, as the eruption was taking place, a tropical storm was passing just to the northeast of Mount Pinatubo, bringing a lot of rainfall to the area. The dust and cinders that had been thrown up into the atmosphere combined with the water vapor from the storm to cause a rainfall of tephra that fell across the whole island of Luzon. Most of the people who perished during the eruption did so because of the weight of the ash collapsing roofs and killing the occupants of the houses. If it hadn't been for that passing storm, the death toll would certainly have been much lower. But that's not all. Besides the ash, Mount Pinatubo expelled between 15 and 30 million tons of sulfur dioxide gas. Can you guess what happened next? Yes, the sulfur dioxide mixed with water and oxygen in the atmosphere to become sulfuric acid, which is a major contributor to ozone reduction. The eruption plume from Mount Pinatubo reached high into the atmosphere, attaining an altitude of 34 kilometers, and the resulting aerosol cloud spread around the Earth in 2 weeks and had covered the planet within a year. During the years 1992 and 1993, the ozone hole situated over Antarctica reached an unprecedented size. The cooling effects of this cloud over the Earth were remarkable. It reduced global temperatures considerably. In the United States, for example, we experienced our third coldest and third wettest summer in 77 years during 1992.
That is the end of part 4.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
So guys, don't forget like, subscribe and share my YouTube channel and my Facebook page, IELTS updates and recent exams. For more updates related to recent IELTS exam writing test topics, listening, reading, practice test and speaking, you got guesswork. Please guys, participate in everyday new IELTS listening and reading practice tests to achieve your desired band score in your actual IELTS exam. For more IELTS material, visit my official website www.ieltsupdatesandrecentexams.com. The link is given below in the description. If you need PDF files of latest IELTS material, then please join my Telegram channel. So guys, please write your score below the comment section. Again, thanks for listening. God bless you all guys. Stay tuned, stay safe.